Mr. England,
Present.
Mr. Kessler,
Present.
Ms. Mills,
Present.
Mrs. Rutman,
Present.
Mr. Turpin.
Present. We will turn it over to you.
Good evening. I'm Miss Million, the principal at Northeast Elementary, and I have with me today Ryu and his mom Mihaela and dad Terry, and then Emmy Lou and mom Stony. And so Ryu is going to lead us today in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
I forgot to introduce one person, and that is Mrs. Melody Egger, and she is my right-hand man and assistant principal at Northeast Elementary, and we are so blessed to have her. She's absolutely amazing. And before I turn it over to Emmy Lou, I just kind of wanted to share a little bit about Northeast. And so this year we have 490 students, we have 53 staff members, and at the beginning of every school year, there's always such excitement. At the beginning of the year, Dr. Coates has all of our faculty come together for a big kickoff, and so you usually come away with that with some nugget that you're thinking about for the year. And so the thing I came away with this year was the idea that everyone should have a seat at the table. And so that has just been something that's been heavy on my mind. And so, sorry, I had to move that stool. And so I've been really thinking about, well, what do we do at Northeast that makes sure that everyone has a seat at the table? And I think teachers do an absolutely amazing job within their classrooms, meeting academic needs every day, intervening when they can, helping students socially and emotionally. But what else can we do? What can we do outside the classroom? So I thought about things that we already do, things we can do better, things we can add. And so I just want to share a few things that we're doing this year, some new, some just a little bit tweaked to be better, that ensure other students, teachers, and parents have a seat at our table. So first off, we have our leadership clubs. We have art club, and this year, if you're interested in art, you can come before school and be part of the art club once a week. We have our honor choir. We have robotics this year, which I'm very excited because we haven't had that for a little while at Northeast. We have our academic team. We have student mentors, and student mentors work with our special education students. We have ladies and gents, and they're working on those soft skills of shaking hands, eye contact, welcoming adults to our building. We have our Fab Friday leaders. This is our 13th year to be a GE model school, so our Fab Friday leaders lead our assemblies every Friday. We have a gardening club. We have a kindness club. And so those are just a few of our leadership things. We also have Fax Master, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's math, but it's for kids pre-K through 5th that just like to do math. And so it's self-initiated, so your only competition is yourself. And if you want to do extra math, you can practice all week and come to the cafeteria 2 times on a Friday. So we offer it in the morning and in the afternoon. And I'm happy to report that we have probably 100 students show up in the morning and a different 100 students in the afternoon. So students like to do math just for fun. So they come there, they take a math test, and then they get to level up. So they work on that all year, and that's pre-K through 5th. Something else that we do is running club. So this is our 3rd year for running club. So every Wednesday morning, I invite whoever signs the permission slip to come at 8:15, and we run. But this year, very exciting, our first running club was last Wednesday, and I had 160 students come to running club. That was fun. But even better than that, I have about 35 parent volunteers who want a seat at the table to help with that this year, which is great. And they have the best job because at running club, you get a punch card, and every time you come, and every time you make a lap, the parents get to mark that lap, cheer the kids on. Every 5 laps is a mile, and every punch card is 3 miles. And so those are just some of the ways that we're trying to expand, give everyone a seat at the table. Northeast is a very special place, and I feel very privileged to be part of it. And now I'm going to turn it over to Emmy Lou, who's going to tell you why she loves Northeast.
Hi, my name is Emmy Lou, and I'm a 4th grade student at Northeast Elementary. I love Northeast because it is kind and it is lovely here, and I feel like I will succeed here. I love all my teachers, especially my teacher, because they are all smart and beautiful. I think that everyone should know that Northeast is the best school, and I think everyone in the whole entire world should go to it. That's how we do it at Northeast. The character word of the month is persuasiveness, which means effectively communicating with others so they can better understand. Sharing honest information with others so they can make a good decision for themselves. Speaking about persuasiveness, I successfully persuaded to my mom to have another baby. Thank you for having Northeast students here tonight. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. You guys come back up, and the board members would love to take a picture with you. So please come on back up.
Okay, moving on to item 3, reports to the board. Dr. Coates, get to go first.
Thank you. And I was going to let you guys are welcome to stay for the remainder of the board meeting, but if you want to head out at any time, you're welcome to do that too. So don't feel bad if you leave. Okay, there you go. All right, thank you guys. I understand, I get it. All right, we've had a fast and furious start to the school year. It's been great. That Miss Million and I were just talking about, it seems like it's going by really fast, so I guess that's good. Things are going well. We've been working on bond planning for our bond for 2025, which we hope to have this coming spring. We've talked to our bond consultant. We are getting some figures regarding bonding capacity. Our departments are working on their annual budgets and some other maybe needs around the district. We've already done our long-range facility master planning, so we have those big construction items already figured out, but based on our bonding capacity, we'll figure out what we can pull from that list, and then other more immediate needs. We do plan to have, and we just determined the dates last week, a parent and community feedback forums. We're going to have 2 prior to bringing the bond resolution to the board. We will have those on October 29th and November 7th, and so there will be more information regarding those feedback forums as we get closer. And then we hope to bring the bond resolution to you for approval in December at that December board meeting with the election in February. The election in February will coincide with the board member election as well, should we have that election in February. We also, you guys noticed probably, the CSI, our strategic plan surveys, went out today to parents and community and teachers and support staff. We'll be working with principals to get the surveys to our students within the next 2 weeks, but looking forward to getting that data back to see how we compare to the survey results in 2022 and just how our community feels like we are doing regarding our strategic plan. Just some things to note, maternity leave that's been reimbursement from the State Department has been kind of a subject we've been talking about that because we have not gotten funding or reimbursement for last year's maternity leave, and that was a new law that was passed. So we have good news. We are going to be able to get that reimbursement. They are going to do both last year's fiscal year and this year fiscal year all in one lump sum. Two reimbursements, but the funding has been allocated for both years in this 1 year. So that's good news. Emergency certifications, I am sad to report we do have more emergency certifications this year than we had last year. Last year we had 20 emergency certified teachers. This year we're actually going to have 29. A lot of those teachers, though, however, do have a teaching certificate, just not in the area that they're teaching in this year. So that's good, but the teacher shortage is real, and it's been tough to find teachers this year. So we feel fortunate that all of our positions are filled and we do have certified teachers. Safety is our #1 priority, in thinking about safety and some things we can do to communicate all the things we do regarding safety. We're going to do some lunch and learns this year, send out a Google Meet link and invite community and parents to come join us on a Google Meet link, and we're going to talk about safety topics, transportation technology, what happens at school sites, that sort of thing. And more information will come out regarding that. And then we're also going to do some kind of safety facts and do a safety series with infographics and kind of a did you know around safety tidbits, just to keep our community informed and our parents informed regarding safety. We also are going to participate in the United Way campaign, and that will kick off in October. And 2 of the main groups that United Way supports within our community is Owasso Community Resources and A New Leaf. So we're excited to kick off that United Way campaign to support those local organizations. And then finally, student activities. We're going to do Bikes for Kids coming up at our next home game and our last home game. We are doing the Quick Trip Game Changer program, and that is where we're honoring students from every elementary or from every school site, and then our Quick Trip Teacher of the Game, honoring our teachers and giving those folks a big pat on the back. We will have our Folds of Honor Patriot Bowl with Broken Arrow on September 27th, and just a shout out to our band and our student section at our last 2 football games, one at home with Bixby and then at Jinx. It's just been amazing. The support, the community support and student support, and our students have been so well behaved, and just it's been a lot of fun. It's been great. And it was really fun winning too, and beating those 2 teams, so to top it all off. With fine arts, our wind ensemble and pet band are performing at the Gathering on Main, and then we've had the Union one-act play will be coming up in September 27th and 28th, and then we'll have our marching competition invitational on September 28th. So we have a Friday night football game, and then the very next day we have the Saturday marching band competition. So it's going to be a big event, lots going on at the stadium on those 2 nights. And then last week, Special Olympics, those of you board members that came out and got to view our unified teams and students and visit with Tim Shriver, thank you for coming out. It was really special to see our students working together and in action, and just got lots of positive feedback from Tim Shriver. He was so impressed with our students and how kind they were to each other and how polite, and just our facilities, and he just thinks Owasso, Oklahoma is great, like we do. And just a big shout out to Susan St. John for all of her hard work, Stephanie Barger, Cherie Scudamore, and Kim Russell. I was talking to Mr. Nantua, and he was saying that Miss Scudamore is a stud, and I said, so her name should really be Miss Studamore instead of Miss Scudamore. So that may be her nickname from here on out. And just a great visit last week, and Tim Shriver has also started this push called the Dignity Scale or the Dignity Project, and just talking about treating each other with dignity even when we disagree, and that all stemmed from his work with the Special Olympics. And for those of you that don't know, Tim Shriver is the CEO of Special Olympics Worldwide. So that's all I've got. You guys have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, that takes us to Mr. Officer.
Good evening. We're off to a good start in the teaching and learning department. This week is heavy with professional development in various forms and fashions. We'll have about 200 teachers participate in the professional development opportunities we have this month. I said this week, I meant this month, throughout the month of September. Also, we had our first collaboration day, which is loaded with various professional development opportunities. Thank you guys again for approving those 4 a couple years ago. We used them well. Our Title I allocations have finally arrived, and it seems like they will not be taken back this time. So we're excited to get that in place, and I think we're going to have an opportunity to hire some support staff members to better serve kids at a couple different buildings. So that's great. And then also this month is just rife with parent engagement activities across the district, both elementary and secondary. Our principals do a great job of creating activities and inviting parents to the building. And I've got to attend, well, the most recent one got to go to Smith the other night for their Title I Family Engagement Night, and that was fun to see and had a really good turnout. So that, I think today's Tuesday, so I think Thursday maybe, ATOR has their tailgate night, another Title I engagement night that I look forward to attending as well. And then, as Dr. Coates mentioned, we had in our Special Services Department, we had a visit from the chairman of Special Olympics, Mr. Tim Shriver. He got to go see programs at those 4 sites, the Ram Academy, Stone Canyon, the high school and 7th grade center. Just a great opportunity to see some really special adults in action, working with some really special kids, so that's neat. And then lastly, the 25th Owasso Invitational Marching Competition is the 28th, and that is the kickoff for the competitive season, and our kids will be participating in the one act at Union on September 27th through 29th, and then follow that up with Deer Creek and the state competition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Officer. District Services, Kerwin Kerner.
Good evening. District Services, we bring students to and from school. We feed them while they're here. We keep them safe while they're here. If something's broken, we fix it. If it needs built, we build it. So we have really great teams in District Services, and I'm proud of all the hard work that we do behind the scenes. I would like to highlight our safety department led by Mr. Paul Croft tonight. We are thankful for him and our 3 SROs that are also Owasso police officers, and our 5 school security officers that are in our schools, and just the security presence that they provide at each of our schools on a day-to-day basis. We have security cameras in all our schools and on our buses. We have access control at each of our sites. So we have a lot of safety measures in place, but I'm also thankful for students, teachers, and patrons that are being alert, and if they see something, they say something. That is the type of behavior we want to foster, and very important to us. We want all kids to feel valued and loved, and we want to do as much as we can to promote that type of culture in our schools. So I'm very, very proud of all of our people around town. While safety is an area that we devote a lot of effort and resources to behind the scenes, we also have a lot going on in front that a lot of people see, which is a lot of our construction stuff. So Jordan has some of the slides for this month pulled up. We'll run through some of our track. Right now we're moving into the actual track itself and the curb and getting that all formed up. We continue to work on each of the buildings, and if you've been out there lately, you'll see the front entrance is going up and taking shape. So kind of exciting to see that. Here you see, I believe this one is the band. So that's on the back by the Wellness Center. So that's getting wrapped up, looking good there. Here you can see the track building over there on the left, and then there's the front entrance way. It's coming up and taking shape. Next, the brick masonry is going up on the restrooms. And next slide, I think we'll see concession stands. There you go. So again, you can see the masonry brick going up on that. And then there, I don't know if you can see it real well, that top left picture kind of shows this is the scorers and training building. You can see all the conduit going in there, so all the brains of all the electronics that are going to be out there, scoreboard, timing systems, and everything will be in this building. So we got a lot of conduit just to be able to connect everything there. So real excited about the progress being made out there. And so it's getting closer. Next one, you'll kind of see, there's the track. You can kind of see it. It's all torn up, and so they're putting that back now. It's kind of some bird's eye view. The next one, yeah, so here is taking a look at it from, say, the indoor facility, looking back out over the track, so you can kind of see there, those will be where the bleachers will be. So getting that all poured and laid there. So real exciting. There's the stuff that's coming up out there. They keep working. They've had good weather to work with. So if you keep going, Jordan, I think I added some slides. So we're going to shift gears to Hodson, where you're starting to see some pictures that we can share with you there. We had a giant hole. They built a beautiful hole, and in the next picture, we filled it in. So out there, to make sure we have a good foundation, we dug a big hole, got it down where we needed it to be, and filled it back in with some shale. That packed in real nice. So you can see there, even all those big trucks are on it. The enrollment center, so just down the street here, we are starting to put walls up inside. So that's exciting to see. That's taking shape. The next one there, you can see they're starting to get some insulation and stuff inside those walls. So that's coming along, hoping to be done around fall break still. And this is a rendering of what the front will look like. It will be a ram head up there with Wausau Public Schools, the little accent of red. And I think one more picture there. So that would be like you're looking at from the street as you come around from Ator. So real excited about what that's going to look like, and a new front door to our district for a lot of families. So that's all I have. Thank you for serving in Wausau Public Schools, and go Rams.
A quick question for you, Kurt.
Yes.
Are those buildings able to get access?
It will be all at once, I believe.
Okay, I'm thinking like the storage buildings, track may want to use it before.
I think it'll be all at the end. Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be a CMO. We're
Okay, moving on. Item 4, comments from the public.
There are none.
Already marked it off, sorry. Mr. Storm. Yeah. Ms. Storm, just send us a memo, okay? No, you're on, so.
I serve at the pleasure of the board, so I'd be happy to send you a memo. But a few updates on goal area number 2, the RAM team. Some of our objectives here and some updates on where we're at. So some of the bullet points here were conduct our own job fair. So we have that scheduled for the spring of 2025. Just to mention that last spring, we tweaked the format of that a little bit. We put it on a Thursday night rather than doing it on a weekend. We feel like that generated more participation, more interest, so we plan to do that again this year. Number 2 is attend job fairs for universities. So we currently have plans to attend 4 this fall. Last fall, we attended 2. So again, we're trying to increase our presence there and make sure people know who we are and where we are. The employee referral program is still going strong. Our administrators are encouraged to remind their own staff about that whenever they have openings, to encourage their staff, because that's one of the best mechanisms we have to get qualified candidates. Determine action steps to address staff retention needs. Some of the things that we've done here are we've had some what I would call targeted salary increases for specific roles where we felt like a critical shortage. So for special ed, as you are probably aware, we increased that percentage that they receive over and above the scale. We had some increases to the support scale for bus drivers and for our security officers. And we also adjusted the format of those security positions, increased the days and how those are set up. So all of those were actions we took to address those retention needs as we saw critical areas that needed our attention. Another objective we have is to continue to develop the subpool. We have a very specific goal of trying to get our unfilled rate down to 10%. So currently we have 155 people in our subpool, which is a good number. Our current unfilled rate, if you want to look at that side instead of the fill rate, it averages about 22% this year. So we're not at 10% yet, but we continue to see that number go down. It was higher last year, but last year's rate was a little bit better than the year before that. So we're working on that, and we have a very, I think, ambitious goal of trying to get that fill rate down to 10% or less. The thing we run into with our subpool is just that, I mean, it's up to the people that sign up what days they want to work, what schools they want to work at. So when we have 155, but it's not always everyone's available on every day to fill any position. Another objective there was just to continue the Spark program. We look at that as one of the big pieces of our employee retention, as well as being a great opportunity for the community, but it's also a big employee retention piece. So currently we have 489 students enrolled in that Spark program, and comparing that to last year at this time, it was about 371. So we are seeing an increase in those numbers, and Melissa shared with me that about 155 of those are staff kids. So that means we have 155 students that our staff are utilizing that as something to help them, and so we hope that that'll encourage them to stay here. And then objective number 2 has to do with training and professional development plans. All of our new employees are being trained in the PLC process, and the teaching and learning team can certainly expound upon that more than I can, but they're encouraged to collaborate and to be a part of that as soon as they get started. And also the feedback that we generate from all of our professional development activities to try to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our staff. So, any questions? I could have done that in a memo, but. All right, thank you.
We're glad you did, so, thank you. Okay, now I'll move on to item 4. Comments from the public.
There are none.
Okay, thank you. Item 5, consent agenda. Board to consider and take possible action on the following consent agenda items. Dr. Coates.
Yes, the consent agenda items are items that we bring to you on a regular basis annually, and most of these you've seen in the past, and so that's why they are on the consent agenda, and would request approval tonight for these items.
we have a budget code for the robotics program of, I think, roughly $30,000. And this is coming out of that robotics program budget. But as far as how that is broken out and the full, what we're going to receive for that, I can't quote that to you tonight, but I can certainly find out and let you know, tell you. Sure. Not completely. Owl set. Yes.
For hybrid learning.
They're cameras and microphones that allow for meetings, but also for students who are in a room that need to learn from a teacher who's in a different room, for example. It's a virtual camera slash microphone slash speaker.
It kind of looks like an owl. If I could, and it has the ability to pivot its head to follow the, I know you guys want to watch me do it, but it hoots, I will say. If you want a demonstration, just come by. They're really great tools. We're able to use in the classroom.
I think we just got our demonstration there, so.
Thank you.
We are buying one utility vehicle, yes. I don't know if Kerwin wants to expand on that.
So, down there at transportation, a lot of back and forth from the bus barn to the tops, and just move people around that whole facility. Yeah, it's more of a utility type vehicle.
Right below that, Mrs. Carter probably knows the answer to this more than anybody. We're buying a whole bunch of bibbers of bands.
Yes.
I think he wants to know.
Good answer.
There's a question in there. Yeah? Bibbers are black pants that they wear with them, but underneath the coat, they actually bib like overalls, and they call them bibbers.
Can you use them to wade and hunt? I mean, are they multi-purpose or?
Yes, but they may not keep you dry, but of course you can use them. Yeah.
New pants. I just thought
It's-
it might be something to enhance.
It's,
the
we're in
performance.
transition of having a new uniform design, but right now the black pants are gonna suffice and buy us another time to get exactly what we want from the pants that we were using.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve consent agenda items VA through VGI.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Bibbers or anything else? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Turpin,
Yes.
Mr. England,
Yes.
Mr. Kessler,
Yes.
Ms. Mills,
Yes.
Mrs. Rutman.
Yes.
Okay, item 6, communications, Superintendent Dr. Coates. Item A, board to consider and take possible action on the proposed Board of Education meeting dates for 2025 calendar year as outlined in the attachment.
Yes, we discussed this, if you guys recall, during our retreat, board retreat, and so you guys have already reviewed these dates, and just, we would like to propose, go ahead and move forward with these dates for 2025 if there are no objections.
I make a motion that we accept the proposed board of education meeting dates for 2025 calendar year as outlined in the attachment.
Second.
Are you sure? Okay, all right, roll call.
Ms. Mills, Mrs. Rutman.
Yes.
Mr. Turpin.
Yes.
Mr. England.
Yes.
And Mr. Kessler.
Yes.
Item B, board to consider and take possible action on the contract with Sampson Group for professional development for district leaders for the 2024-2025 school year at a cost of $2,500 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the contract.
Yes, this is Jay Sampson. We worked with him in coordination with the city and the chamber to receive professional development with this group last school year, and this is an extension of that training, just for us, just for Owasso Public Schools, and it will be for our leadership team. We'll have about 60 of our district leaders attend this training on collaboration days. Those dates are very specific because those are our collaboration days. We'll get 2 hours of training on each date, and looking forward to continuing our work with this group and with Jay specifically.
Make a motion, we approve the contract with the Sampson Group for professional development for the district leaders for the 24-25 school year at a cost of $2,500 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the contract.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Kessler,
Yes.
Ms. Mills, Mrs. Rettman,
Yes.
Mr. Turpin,
Yes.
Mr. England.
Yes.
Item C, board to consider and take possible action on the proposed new policy, number 1.90, displaying flags and flag salute as outlined in the attachment.
Yes, this is the first of 10 policies that we're bringing to you tonight, and so hopefully you've had a chance to review those policies, maybe over the weekend. If not, they're in a folder for your convenience there at your seat. And then there's that cover page I was telling you about that has the name of the policy and what the reason we are bringing it to you tonight, whether it's OSDE rule change that's prompting the policy or a law that is going into effect. The reason we're bringing you so many policies tonight is they need to be on the books, if you will. We need to have them in place before we have our accreditation visit, which is going to be October 2nd. So if there are changes you would like to make, I mean, if there's just kind of small tweaks, I would propose that we go ahead and approve the majority of these policies tonight, so they are in here and in our policy manual for the accreditation visit, and then we can always bring them back and make any substantial changes later on. So this first one for tonight, the displaying of flags and the flag salute, stemmed from events that occurred on the west side of the state regarding flags. There's a 1956 law that's in place that says, you know, all government institutions need to fly flags, the Oklahoma flag and the U.S. flag outside of the building, and certain flag protocols have to be in place, and to do the Pledge of Allegiance every day. We have been following that law this whole entire time. We have not had a policy in place specifically saying we're going to follow the law. But now, because of the controversy that happened within the state recently, it is now mandated that we do have a law in place. And we checked with our RAO just to, like, are you sure we really need one? And he said, yes, we need one. We need to have it in place by this accreditation visit. So this law, this policy that you see here before you, the wording came from OSSBA and also from a couple of other school districts around the state that already had this law in place, and we just made it fit for us here in Owasso. So for example, we included the Cherokee Nation's flag is a flag that we would allow. If your school's not on the Cherokee Nation reservation, you would not include that in your policy. So that's something that's just unique to this policy for us. So I would just request approval tonight, or any questions you might have regarding this policy.
I make a motion, we approve the proposed new policy number 1.90, displaying flags and flag salute as outlined in the attachment.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Rettman,
Yes.
Mr. Turpin,
Yes.
Mr. England,
Yes.
Mr. Kessler,
Yes.
and Ms. Mills.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Coates. Item 7, teaching and learning. Mr. Officer.
This first item we have up is the annual college remediation report that we bring to you each year for informational purposes only. Just making you aware.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, item B, 2023 comprehensive dropout reports, 7th grade center, 8th grade center, and OHS.
Yes, again, annually, we bring this to you to let you know what our dropout percentages were. You'll notice that for each size, they were between 2 and 3%.
Okay, again, thank you. Any questions? Moving on to C, board to consider and take possible action on the proposed gifted and talented advisory committee for 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026.
Yeah, these are 2-year terms, so every other year we bring this to you for approval of this committee.
I have one question.
Yes.
How is this committee selected?
There are certain requirements for what stakeholder groups must be represented, and then beyond that, we just reach out to people. Dr. Woodard calls people and asks if they're willing to serve.
I think I see one person on here. It says ES Enrichment Specialist. What does ES mean? Or do you know? Oh, maybe that just means enrichment specialist. I don't know.
Yeah, it would be enrichment specialist. Missy Hayes is one of our teachers, an enrichment specialist.
Is she an enrichment lab
Yes, ma'am.
teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can't remember which site she's at this year since we added some extra folks, but yes, she is.
Make a motion, we approve the proposed Gifted and Talented Advisory Committee for the 2024, 2025, and 2025, 2026 school year.
Second.
Motion, excuse me? Oh, okay. Well, we have a motion, a double second, so, any further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Mills? Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
And Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Okay, item D, board to consider and take possible action on an agreement with Casino Nights LLC for homecoming dance entertainment hosted by Student Council for 2024-2025 school year at a cost of $2,275 as outlined in the attachment. Authorized superintendent or designee to execute the agreement.
As described. I don't know what else to say about that. Sounds like it's going to be a fun night at the homecoming dance, though. Ask for your approval for this, I guess, purchase contract.
I make a motion, we approve the agreement with Casino Night LLC for homecoming dance entertainment hosted by Student Council for the 24-25 school year at a cost of $22,275. $2,275.
Be a really fun night.
Dang it. As outlined in the attachment and authorize the superintendent or designate to execute the agreement.
Second.
We went from play money to real money real quick, so.
I promise it will be school appropriate.
Did I have a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, motion has been made and second. Any further discussion about games and what else we're gonna be doing, so. All right, roll call.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills?
Yep.
Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes. Item E, board to consider and take possible action on the contract with Amira Learning for a dyslexia screener for 2024-2025 school year at a cost of $0 as outlined in the attachment. Authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the contract.
Again, kind of as described, this will be a vendor for us to use for our dyslexia screener.
I make a motion to approve the contract with Amira Learning for a dyslexia screener for the 2024-2025 school year at the cost of $0 as outlined in the attachment and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the contract.
Second.
Motion been made and second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Mills? Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Okay, item F, board to consider and take possible action on proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 1.69, parents' rights in public education in Oklahoma as outlined in the attachment.
This is actually the second reading. We brought this to you 2 months ago for first reading, and then have been working on just the formatting for it. A law that occurred a year ago is causing a change in this policy, and as we looked at updating, it just became clear that it would be better to just use this document to update our policy rather than trying to make edits. And when I found this online, showed it to Dr. Coates, and we agreed that we liked this format a lot. The table format seemed very clear and straightforward. So we're just asking you to approve this policy update, please.
I make a motion, we approve the proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 1.69, parent rights and public education in Oklahoma, as outlined in the attachment.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Item G, board to consider and take possible action on the proposed edits, changes, and addition to policy 1.28, minute of silence and voluntary prayer as outlined in the attachment.
Yes, this is in response to new law, where we've made some edits to our moment of silence policy, and actually one of those things is changing it to a minute of silence. But again, it's strictly in response to a new law, and so we're asking for your approval.
Is this policy a result of a bill that went through the legislative process, or is it a rule that was made by the SDE?
It's a law, went through the legislative process. Yes, ma'am.
Make a motion, we approve the proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 1.28, minute of silence and voluntary prayer, as outlined in the attachment.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Item H, board to consider and take possible action on proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy number 5.46, reading sufficiency, as outlined in the attachment.
Yes, actually, H, I, and K are all tied together, and they come, again, as a result of new Senate bill legislation called the Reading Sufficiency Act. And so Mrs. Hearn and Dr. Van have been working diligently in the last several weeks, actually, making sure all three of these policies are updated to reflect those new changes in the law. Mrs. Parks as well plays a pretty...
You said H, I, and J?
H, I, and K.
And K.
Yeah.
What happened to J?
Well, that's Mr. Duffield. Not yet, Mr. Duffield. We're getting close to you, though. He just happened to wiggle his way in there.
Really? Okay. Okay. So you want us to combine those three?
I'm just giving you heads up that those
Okay.
three are a result of the same law.
Okay.
I apologize.
Well, I was waiting for
Yeah.
you to say please, so.
Please,
Okay.
por favor.
I make a motion, we approve the proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 5.46, reading sufficiency act, as outlined in the attachment.
Sorry, you jumped the gun. I had a question for you. Quite a lot was struck from this. Are we referring to something that picks all of that up, or was it just too wordy?
Was it too wordy, or why all the strike?
Just unnecessary.
Just going off we reviewed OSSBA, recommended policy as well as the law with what was struck from it.
Just a lot unnecessary.
Yeah, this particular.
Too many words.
Yeah, this particular piece is referring to the testing and the procedures. So it's extra information.
Then I second.
Motion been made second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Okay, item I, board to consider and take possible action on proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 5.22, student promotion and retention and student pass-fail of a course as outlined in the attachment.
Again, the new law changed how we view, how we use reading scores in test results to recommend retaining students in grade levels. So this new policy updates that information based upon the new law. Please.
I recommend we approve the proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 5.22, student promotion and retention and student pass-fail of a course as outlined in the attachment.
Second?
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills? Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes. Item J, board to consider and take possible action on new policy 5.60, student athletes and activities, name, image, and likeness, as outlined in the attachment. Mr. Duffield.
Yes, sir. Thank you. You'll see there in the attachment, this is guidance from our school attorneys, OSSBA, and the OSSAA regarding NIL opportunities for students, not just student athletes, but any student in any kind of activity. The Reader's Digest version is they cannot use school facilities or wear school equipment if they were to engage in any type of NIL opportunity. So they can wear this right color and it be off-site somewhere, but they can't be at a school facility or wearing school-issued uniforms to engage in NIL activities. And this is just a trickle down from the NCAA, and we will see where this goes. That's been deemed illegal at this point.
I make a motion that we approve new policy number 5.60, student athletes and activities, name, image, and likeness, as outlined in the attachment.
Hold on. In the case of clubs that use the word OWASO in their name, how is that going to be regulated if a student is wearing that?
Say that again.
So for example, there's a club, a sports club that's the OWASO, I don't know what, anyway, that's not a part of the school, but a student gets an NIL, wears that, says OWASO, this says they cannot. How
Well,
does
it's
that
not,
work?
if it's a club, it's probably not school issued, right? I mean, clubs fund themselves.
Right, but it says school name.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are we going OWASO or are we going OWASO High School? I mean, or Rams, I mean,
Right, right. You know, just going off examples I've seen in the past, it is just a pretty vanilla shirt or jersey with a number on it maybe, but it does not have any markings that would identify OWASO or OWASO Public Schools.
okay, it's gonna be tricky. I'll second.
Okay, motion made in a tricky second, and roll call.
Ms. Mills? Yes. Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Duffield. Item K, board to consider and take possible action to rescind policy 5.41, mid-year promotion, 4th grade.
Yes, so this is the third and final policy that we need to edit as a result of the new Reading Sufficiency Act law. Please. Yes.
So that, does this mean that if the child actually shows that they're qualified to advance to a higher grade, they cannot do it because of the higher reading score?
I'll let
Is there another methodology?
one of you guys take that.
It was part of the Reading Sufficiency Act was if a child was retained as a result of the Reading Sufficiency Act law because they were not hitting that target, but so they were retained. If they hit that target, they had the opportunity for a mid-year promotion to 4th grade.
To get back up to their cohort. So if they're cohort 27 and they're retained back to cohort 28 as a result of not hitting their reading target, but they eventually hit that target a year later, they can be promoted back to cohort 27.
However, with the revisions to the law, now Strong Readers Act, that automatic retention component is not there, which means we would apply promotion
I make a motion that we rescind policy 5.41, mid-year promotion for fourth grade.
Second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Kessler,
Yes.
Ms. Mills, Mrs. Rutman,
Yes.
Mr. Turpin,
Yes.
Mr. England.
Yes. Okay, item A, district services, Mr. Kerner. Item A, board to consider and take possible action on Chase Morris sudden cardiac arrest response plans for school sites as outlined in the attachments.
Yes, so no policy on this one, but still a result of Senate Bill 1921. You get to vote on all of them in one, but Mr. Turpin will have to sign each of them, so there's 15 of them. This is in response to, like I said, that law. Each site has to have a sudden cardiac arrest team, and it has to be documented. And we have to have information on there about who's on that team, drills that they will do, which we are still working on. We'll do that this year. We have to have information about AEDs at each of those sites, and information regarding the maintenance of those, meaning the actual AED itself will expire, the battery will expire, and the adult and pediatric pads that go on the chest will also expire. So we have to have all that written down in each plan. We had all of that information, but we kept it at a district level so we can maintain all those AEDs. Now, this law says we have to have it out by each site, so we've broken that out. We'll still maintain it at a district level so we can order in bulk. When we do those, we'll order lots of those supplies at once, but we have to do it by site. So all of that is in there, and again, we have to have it for accreditation, and so that's why we're bringing it to you now. Yes, ma'am. No, we purchase them and then we maintain and just make sure everything is current as far as just the dates and things. Yes, we would replace those, yes. Yeah, and our nurses are real good about being part of that. We have some training devices, and that's what we will use to go to each site to train these teams. We have people in each site already trained, CPR trained, first aid trained, but this is putting them all together on a plan, and so we will do that this year. Paul, what are we up to? Do you remember 33? 36. Yeah, and we typically will purchase those through bond dollars, and so that will fluctuate. We may spend $5,000 this year, but I know we have a cliff coming up, I think, at the end of next year, and so we'll be buying $30,000. So it just kind of depends on, I think all the elementaries are on the same cycle now, so we purchase 9 of them all at once, and it gets expensive, but it helps us to keep all those on the same cycle.
Are we not required to have a policy in place for all of the district buildings, not just the school sites?
It said school sites, but we will actually make one for this building as well. And all of our trainers have that through what was the other policy for the trainers and the cardiac? No, it's another name. A couple years ago, there was a law. We built a policy for that through our athletics department. Which one? Riley Boatwright. We built that policy, and people across the state use that as a template. So the athletics piece, we have all those documented through the Riley Boatwright plan as well that we have to maintain. Yeah. So we actually have more AEDs than what's on these 15 because we have a lot of portable ones for the trainers. This law also says you have to have an AED within 1 to 3 minutes of any athletic event. So all of our gyms and things where there's basketball games, we place them strategically to where you can get a hold of them quickly as well. The Riley Boatwright one, we also, and in here, you'll see some of the names of the local emergency folks, because we have to coordinate with Owasso Fire Department for EMS services as well.
Does this have to come to us every year, or is
It will be annual.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve the Chase Morris sudden cardiac arrest response plans for school sites as outlined in the attachments.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
And Ms. Mills?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 9, we're going to skip you again, Mr. Storm, so. Finance, item A, board to consider and take possible action on the treasurer's report for August 2024.
Thank you. So you can see this report, the revenue in the general fund is higher than last month, still not terribly high. August is still a slow month for us, and then it'll pick up as we get further into the year, especially as we get into December and January. But you can see that we do have slightly less than $6 million in revenue through the end of August, and last year that number was a little bit higher, closer to $6.9 million. So the main difference there is federal reimbursements. Last year we had some large early federal reimbursements from the COVID stimulus monies that bumped that number up. So that's the reason why this year's revenue is slightly lower at this point. But we will see that correct itself over the year, I'm sure. And the expenses for the year so far are a little bit ahead of last year, and I think we'll see that trend continue because we know we have additional positions this year, so we know our salary costs will be higher, and so that's, again, right where I would expect us to be at this point. Building fund, very little activity on the revenue side because primarily that revenue only comes in once the property tax revenue starts coming in, which is, again, December, January, and the rest of the year, and the Redbud funding now, which is also twice a year. So very little activity there until about mid-year, but some of the expenses do have to happen fairly early. So you'll see the expenditure number there is quite a bit larger than revenue. The biggest thing there is the property insurance, which has to be paid at the beginning of the year. So again, that's about where I would expect that fund to be. And then child nutrition numbers are pretty consistent with where they were last year at this point.
Make a motion, we approve the treasurer's report for August 2024.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
And Mr. Turpin?
Yes. Item B, board to consider and take possible action on the 2024-2025 estimate of needs.
This is a formal budget document that the board sees every year in September. There's also a publication sheet that is associated with this. We're required to have that signed by the board upon approval, and then that has to be submitted to a local newspaper and be published in a local newspaper. And then the document, assuming board approval and board signatures, then it's submitted to the Tulsa County Excise Board, and the Tulsa County Excise Board has to act upon it at their next board meeting as well. What this document does is it summarizes the financial activity for the year just ended. It establishes estimates for revenue for the year that we're in now, and based upon those numbers, based upon the ending fund balance and the estimated revenues, it establishes an appropriation, which is our legal budget limit, our legal expenditure limit for the year. So it establishes the appropriations for general building child nutrition fund. And the other thing that this document does is it calculates the tax rate. Those tax rates are all permanent except for the sinking fund, and the sinking fund does vary each year. So those pieces, if you flip pretty close to the back and you have a hard copy, I thought that'd probably be easier to look at if you wanted to, rather than the electronic copy. But like about 2 pages from the back, there's a page that says Exhibit Y, and that page shows at the very top of that box, it says appropriations approved and provision made. So that tells you what the appropriations for the year would be. And so it's about $95.4 million in the general fund, about $7.8 million in the general fund, about $7.8 million in the building fund, and about $6.6 million in the child nutrition fund. That same box also on the bottom right shows you what the sinking fund millage levy would be for this year, and so that would be 26.85. So that sinking fund millage levy is a calculation based upon the tax base, which changes every year, and the needs, which also change every year as we continue to sell bonds each year. So that number fluctuates from year to year. When we do bond projections, we establish a baseline and we project a certain growth in the tax rate, and based upon that, we project a certain millage levy. We never hit that target because the tax base continues to grow faster than our estimates. So we always try to estimate conservatively, so we estimate typically at 3% when we're building those bond projections, and our tax base has grown significantly faster than that. So this year, this schedule also at the bottom of that page, it shows you our total valuation of $802 million, which is a growth of 8.5% over last year. And the year before that, we also grew by 8.5%. So 8.5% growth for each of the last 2 years, which is very healthy growth, which helps us increase our bonding capacity. It increases that source of revenue theoretically in the general fund, but of course it's offset in the funding formula and that's subtracted from us there. So, the things this document does is it establishes that sinking fund millage levy at 26.85, and it establishes those appropriation numbers as well. Yes, sir. It was, yes, sir, I do. It was 24.49. So it dipped down lower than it has been in a while because, again, the tax rate, the tax base, grew so much more than our estimates that the millage levy itself actually did dip last year. And so our target, when we put forth our last bond issue, was 28.5, I believe, mills. So we're significantly under that, and we still are significantly under that, but it is higher this year than it was last year, yes. You're welcome.
I make a motion that we approve the 2024-2025 estimate of needs.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills?
Yes.
Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes. Item C, board to consider and take possible action on an adjustment to the salary scale for substitute bus drivers.
Yes, so this is a scale that's not used terribly often, but it's not been addressed in a number of years, and it was brought to our attention that we have a need there that we believe that adjusting the scale would help us meet that need. So we're recommending a change. We would have 2 levels, 0 through 10 and 11 plus, and we would have the pay rates that you see there established for when that need is there. That would be the rates that we would pay for those substitute bus drivers.
What were they before?
That's a great question. There were four levels. It was 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15 and above. And the beginning levels were significantly lower than this 16.5. By the time you got to the top of the scale, it was pretty close to this 18 that you see here. So the top is pretty similar, but the beginning pay would be a lot better with this scale.
Make a motion to approve an adjustment to the salary scale for the substitute bus drivers.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills? Yes. And Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Okay, item D, board to consider and take possible action on an agreement with PepsiCo Beverage Sales LLC for the 2024-2025 fiscal year at a cost of $0 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize superintendent or designee to execute the agreement.
The district has had a similar contract for a number of years. The last time you saw a formal contract was 2019, and then each year thereafter we have simply annually renewed that, but the provisions for annual renewal of that contract have expired. So you see a new contract coming before you today with some slight tweaks from the previous one. The amount of funding provided to the district is a little bit lower than it was before, and that's just kind of a sign of the times. It's based upon their profit margin and so forth. Not significantly lower, but a little bit lower. And this will again have the provision for us to bring annual renewals to the board each year for a number of years after this.
Make a motion to approve an agreement with PepsiCo Beverage Sales LLC for the 2024-2025 fiscal year at a cost of $0 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the agreement.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call?
Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
And Ms. Mills?
Okay, item E, board to consider and take possible action on the revised advertising agreement with Ascension St. John, Owasso for 2024-2025 school year at a donation of $15,000 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the advertising agreement. Mr. Duffield.
Yes, typically this is in consent because they are teamed up with Tulsa Bone and Joint. That partnership has ran its course. Now Tulsa Bone and Joint is partners with St. Francis. Ascension St. John said, hey, we still want to be in the game. So it's the same thing they've been doing for several years. It's been approved, like I said, in the consent. You see their contract there, but the next four are just sponsorship agreements, but this one is not necessarily a new one, even though it's in this part of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the revised advertising agreement with Ascension St. John Owasso for the 2024-2025 school year at a donation of $15,000 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the advertising agreement.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Further discussion? Roll call?
Ms. Mills? Yes. Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Item F, board to consider and take possible action on a contract with Morris Ratcliffe Law, PLLC, for sponsorship advertising for the 2024-2025 school year for a donation of $2,000 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize superintendent or designee to execute the contract. Mr. Duffield.
Yes, Morris Ratcliffe Law reached out and wanted to see what our sponsorship opportunities were, so we provided them with our packet, and they came back, and we're excited to join on at the $2,000 level.
I'll make a motion, we approve the Morris Ratcliffe Law, PLLC, for sponsorship advertising for the 24-25 school year for a donation of $2,000 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the contract.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills? Yes. Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Item G, board to consider and take possible action on a contract with Big Biscuit for sponsorship advertising for the 2024-2025 school year for a donation of $2,000 as outlined in the attachment. Authorized superintendent or designee to execute the contract. Mr. Duffield.
Yes, Big Biscuit, ever since McAllister's moved out and they moved in, have reached out, and we have sent them the same document 3 or 4 times. And finally, they felt like it was the right time, so they wanted to jump in and be a sponsor.
Make a motion to approve a contract with Big Biscuit for sponsorship advertising for the 2024-2025 school year for a donation of $2,000 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the contract.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills? Yes. Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Are we gonna have the Big Biscuit drop one night or something?
You never know, it's always a surprise.
There we go. All right. Item H, board to consider take possible action on a contract with Tulsa Shields All Sports Inc. for sponsoring advertising for the 2024-2025 school year for a donation of $10,000 as outlined in the attachment, and authorized superintendent or designee to execute the contract. Mr. Duffield.
Yes, this is an interesting one. They reached out to us and wanted to come in and visit, and it's one of those times I'm probably the worst salesman there is, because I said, well, hey, you haven't sold a thing yet, so let us just help you. Let us help push people your way. And they said, hey, that sounds good. And they called back about an hour later and said, you weren't pushy at all. We want to sign up. We want to be a sponsor. So it worked out.
Is this after we won the first 2 games or before?
That has not hurt at all. Winning makes people want to be a part.
I understand.
I make a motion to approve a contract with Tulsa Shields, Shields All Sports Incorporated for sponsorship advertising for the 2024-2025 school year for a donation of $10,000 as outlined in the attachment, and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute the contract.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Roll call.
Ms. Mills? Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
And Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Okay, item 10, Human Resources, Lisa Johnson. Item A, board to consider and take possible action on the proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 2.25, standards of performance and conduct as outlined in the attachment.
Good evening. As Dr. Coates mentioned, the policy revisions that I'm bringing to you this evening are due to State Department rule changes. On this first one, policy 2.25, the language changes really they're very specific regarding the reasons that teachers may be dismissed, refused employment, or not reemployed. And also to add to that, the language changes in all 3 of these policies are recommended by OSSBA.
And is this one a result of a rule that was proposed by the SDE and approved by the legislature, or did it go through the whole bill-making legislative process?
These are all based on administrative rule changes by the State Department.
Yes, so as you guys recall, there were probably 19 rules that were proposed and went through the commenting process and time frame. School districts around the state made over, I think, 2,000 comments on all these rules. It went to the legislature. There was a lot of discussion. We thought there was going to be actually some changes, maybe some omissions, some things regarding these rules. In the end, the legislature chose not to act and just did nothing and presented it to the governor, and the governor just signed off on it. So it became, once the governor signed off, it's like a law now for us.
If you wanted to read specific details about these rules, you could actually put in your search bar the administrative code that I have provided on each of these policies, and it gives you a lot of information on those.
Thank you for that. I make a motion to approve the proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 2.25, standards of performance and conduct as outlined in the attachment.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler? Yes. Ms. Mills? Yes. Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes. Item B, board to consider and take possible action on proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 2.27, suspension, dismissal, and non-reemployment of certified personnel as outlined in the attachment.
This particular policy was actually specific to teachers, but it changed, the title actually changed to certified personnel because it includes teachers and administrators. The changes in this policy really focus on reasons that certified staff can be suspended. The information within, and you'll be able to see this in red, but it goes into the suspension of certified staff for purposes of being investigated by the State Department. It's very specific in what we need to do as a district when we're notified that somebody is being investigated by the State Department. And the consequences if we don't.
I make a motion, we approve the proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 2.27, suspension, dismissal, and non-reemployment of certified personnel as outlined in the attachment.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
Ms. Mills?
Item C, board to consider and take possible action on the proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy 3.22, support employees' rules for conduct and as outlined in the attachment.
This specific policy revision is specific to support employees and the reasons that they may be suspended. So if we're notified as a district by a law enforcement agency that an employee of ours, a support employee of ours, is being investigated for a felony, we should then place our employee on suspension, on administrative leave, and that is what this particular revision includes.
Make a motion to approve the proposed edits, changes, and additions to policy number 3.22, support employees' rules for conduct as outlined in the attachment.
Motion been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler? Ms. Mills? And Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Can I just jump in real quick? I want to say thank you to the board for your patience and diligence in reviewing all of these policies. We've had over 21 policy changes within the last probably 3 board meetings, so it's been a lot. And just say thank you to all of our district leadership who worked on these policies and have just really done a good job reviewing the law and just making sure that wording is accurate and correct. And I mean, there could be things that we may have to come back and tweak, but have done a really good job with trying to make it as accurate as possible and as timely as possible. So thank you to everyone for working on all of these new policies. Appreciate it.
You're most welcome. Okay, that brings us to 11, new business.
There's none.
No new business. Okay, item 12, a vote to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Mills? Mrs. Rutman?
Yes.
Mr. Turpin?
Yes.
Mr. England?
Yes.
Mr. Kessler?
Yes.
We stand adjourned.